As protests continue in Iran against inflation and the sinking value of the local currency, the country's prosecutor general has said the demonstrations are legitimate, but warned any attempt to create insecurity would be met with a, quote, decisive response. It comes as students took to the streets while disgruntled shopkeepers went on strike. Well, for more on this story, we can bring in our international affairs editor, Philip Turl. Hi, Philip. Speaking of this warning from the prosecutor general, how is this being interpreted, or how should it be interpreted?
Well, there have been mixed remarks from the regime. The president yesterday was saying that the call by the protesters for changes to the economy should be taken on board and that they should be listened to. This is a more sinister and a more aggressive remark, saying that, as you just said, any insecurity will be met with a decisive response. Basically, this boils down to the fact that when the Iranian regime feels threatened, it will intervene, and it will intervene with force. It's done this many times in the past. It's likely to react violently if it feels under threat. It did it in 1999 with the student protests, again in 2009 with the Green protests over the re-election of Mohammed Ahmadinejad, which was thought by many to be rigged, again in 2017, 2018, 2019, and more recently in these protests against Mahsa Amini, who was beaten to death by the police in Iran for not properly wearing her Islamic veil. That led to the deaths of at least 500 people at the hands of the security forces. So they have no problem in intervening when they feel that they're under threat. And on top of this, executions are also on the rise in Iran. In recent reports from the United Nations, they say that there's been a dramatic increase. They even said it was staggering, up to 1,500 executions up to the start of December, compared to only 972 last year. So almost double the amount of executions in 2025. Why is that significant? Because the regime is trying to intimidate the population to say, if you start protesting, you could be arrested, you could be executed, therefore to keep off the streets. It's all part of this way of trying to contain the population of Iran. So I think there's every reason to be fearful for those protesters who basically say they've got nothing to lose because they have no way of making ends meet. Their companies are failing to work properly. That's why in the streets now they're calling on the authorities to do something to make their lives better.
So just how hard is it then for those people to get by every month?
Well, I'll just give you a few figures. First of all, corruption in Iran is absolutely appallingly high. It's endemic. It's up again since 2023. That's according to Transparency International, which monitors corruption. Now, Iran is 151 out of 180 countries. Economic growth is in free fall, certainly since the imposition of sanctions in 2015, which were then lifted in 2018, reimposed last year after Iran refused to let inspectors from the International Atomic Energy Agency visit their nuclear sites. Unemployment is also up. It's particularly difficult for women in Iran who find it hard to find jobs. They've been told to stay at home by the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, to have more children. So there's all this pressure on the population, and no sign, as far as Mr. and Mrs. Everyday ordinary man and woman on the street are concerned, that there's going to be any bright future anytime soon.
All right, Philip Tull, thank you very much for that analysis.